morning, and thank God it's Friday. My name is Ituma Edibu.
It's like a relief for you that Friday is finally here.
Yes,
Indeed,
it's finally
thank
here.
God it's Friday, and thank you for choosing to join us this morning. I am Veronica Danny Boy.
Good morning, Nigeria. I'm Olamide Odekule, and I am so pleased that you're choosing to spend your Friday morning here with us on the TVC Breakfast Show.
Yes, I'm Ibrahim Shita. Happy to be here. Even though Etoma is saying, thank God it's Friday, I know that the circadian reading is just very short, 24 hours. Before you know it, you're back here on Monday morning with Monday blues.
Because the only day you actually have to yourself is Saturday.
Well, for some people, but others are here working.
No, yes, I know. I'm talking about me
Saturdays.
because you go home on Friday, you're still in that work mode. Saturday is the only day you're really free.
Really?
Sunday morning, I'm in work mode,
Yes,
my
speaking
dear.
You know, I would argue that even as a journalist on Saturday we don't sleep because there's constantly news coming up that needs your attention on Monday.
Of course, if as a journalist, that doesn't mean you shouldn't take time out to rest. As much as there's constant news coming in, you must ensure that you refresh to be able to perform optimally
the next
on
day.
the Monday morning for those of us that are here.
Yeah.
So it's important that as much as we are in the middle of everything we're doing, take time out to rest.
Imagine if someone got the bright idea for AI news anchors. I wonder if anyone has thought of that. Take the load off of us.
Of course, that has been done. I believe we have moved past that. Anyway, like we told you, we have an array of issues we'll be looking at this morning. The president's decision to look into the matters of housing and the defections we are seeing, the challenges and all of the things coming up as a result of all of these defections. Then we'll also look at stories on the front pages of the newspapers, as well as stories that are trending now much later. But we'll begin with the story where President Bola Tinubu has emphasized the need for collective efforts to combat drug abuse and illicit trafficking in Nigeria. Recognizing the complexity of the issue, he advocates for a holistic and inclusive approach that goes beyond government intervention. According to President Tinubu, tackling substance abuse and trafficking requires a broad coalition of stakeholders. The president also took a moment to commend the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency and its chairman, Brigadier General Muhammad Buba Marwa, retired, for their outstanding work in reducing drug supply and demand. Of course, kudos to Brigadier General Buba Marwa, retired, for the efforts he has been making at addressing this matter of drug abuse in Nigeria. We're seeing a number of arrests being made, people being taken to the prisons because of the things they have been doing. We've seen a lot of work being done, and in fact, the members of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency are being attacked even in the course of trying to enforce arrests and all of it. So kudos to them. They have been trying to reinvent or reinvigorate the confidence Nigerians have on the agency. But it is not yet uhuru with regards to the matter of drug abuse and trafficking. Yesterday was the day we commemorate drug and all of it, where we talk about these issues, and the president took that moment to also address the matter, how we need a holistic approach to addressing it. When you look at the chain of things, we all have to be on all fours with the NDLEA. The agency obviously cannot do it alone.
Yes, and when I saw this, I said to myself, oh, Mr. President watches TVC. We were just talking about it yesterday.
Yeah.
And your approach to the issue is Mr. President's approach too, because yes, you said all stakeholders had to come together to get this thing done, and that's the same stance he has. But let us identify the stakeholders. NDLEA, number one, if you need to succeed, you have to reduce or stop, if possible, which I don't think so, stop the supply of it. Number two, the parents. Number three, the church, the mosque, and should I say civil society too should do that. I always want to call the National Orientation Agency on almost everything that happens in Nigeria.
Absolutely.
Yes, they should have some kind of message that they are passing to Nigerians against drug trafficking. And those people that are your neighbors, that are into drugs, you have a responsibility to try as much as possible to dissuade them from continuing.
All right. Yesterday was National World Drug Day. That's what I was trying to remember earlier on. And the theme was the evidence is clear, invest in prevention. Olamide, you have a lot of knowledge with regards to matters of addressing drug abuse, and I think you have seen people who have struggled over the years. Perhaps from that perspective, if you're talking about prevention, what do you think is the missing gap?
Like you said, I do have a lot of experience because, as you guys know, I did live in Abuja for a majority of my life growing up, and Abuja is a hotspot for drug addiction. Unfortunately, it's the capital, but it's a hotspot for drug addiction. I think when we talk about investing in the prevention of drug use, I think, like Etoma said, Mr. Etoma, we are all stakeholders in our individual homes. And I think something that's very important and interesting to me is the fact that the President mentioned having a holistic approach to drug addiction and drug use prevention that goes beyond government intervention. We must change the narratives that we have about drug addicts. We must shift the narrative from drug addiction as a choice to drug addiction as a disease. And in doing so, we can really get to the root of the socio-economic issues, mental health issues and trauma that cause people to even get into this in the first place. I believe that we must invest in the daily conversations we have, even in the way that we treat addicts in our society. We must come from a place of love, tolerance, and understanding that addiction is a disease and not necessarily a choice.
Really?
And so the investing starts from our minds.
So you think that the issue here is that we are not doing enough in terms of the matters of, sometimes people just profile people not understanding where they are coming from, what pushed them into this kinds of activity. And so that is perhaps the missing gap that you are seeing regarding prevention in this part of the world. I wonder if you share the same sentiment, Ibrahim.
Yeah, I do, but to a very reasonable extent, because sometimes, we make mistakes when we stigmatize people who are drug addicts. Some people actually got into it through peer pressure. So by stigmatizing them, you're not solving a problem, you're only hiding the problem. So that is where parents, you mentioned the role of parents, pastors, churches, mosques, all of this, societies should come together, even taking the message from not just from just the street, taking it to palaces and all of those places. You have to talk to them, reach them at the core needs, at the time of their needs. Sometimes the best, because some parents are outsourcing parenting to TikTok, to Instagram, and all of that.
So they are teachers.
So, but one of the best conversations you can have with your kid could just be at the dinner. So you talk to them, you reach them. So in all of this, I think is the time, you mentioned the CSOs, the time for, what do we call them? The CSOs, human rights activists and all of that. This is the time for them to shine. So that they go out, they reach these people, they talk to them, and we do not need prisons, we do not need cells. What we need is rehabs.
Rehabilitation centers.
You understand? So because the best rehab is when you get them to understand why they should not look like zombies, showing them the pictures, the result of this, and the after effect of you taking drugs. You're not solving a problem, you're rather creating more problems.
And how they can channel their curiosity, because at that age, when you look at the number of persons who are engaged in this, the number of young persons, they just have this mind that is curious and seemingly want to explore. But you see, your exploration can lead you into destruction if you are not careful at the end of the day. And that message, I think, has to be channeled in such a way that a lot of people understand that it is from a place of love, like you rightly pointed out, and not a place of trying to imprison you. Because some persons feel that you don't want me to express myself at this age and stage of your life, but there's a future ahead of you that if your exploration can just truncate at the end of the day. So you wanted to say something?
Yes, and even just what we're doing right now, guys, I think that this is very profound. Having an open dialogue about it. I believe that when it comes to issues of drug addiction, we have a very stifling culture of shame.
That's right.
Like to talk about it. When we have an addict in our family, we keep them at home, we send them to rehabs abroad.
Because we want to maintain an image.
Exactly, and so what we're doing right now is one of the most important tools.
Absolutely.
You said something about the messaging. When you want to do mass education, you have to be very careful about the way you package the message and send it out. You said it in passing, but it struck a chord with me.
Absolutely.
You know, that message, drug addiction is a disease.
Yeah, and that message, which I'll definitely like to share, is that it's not just about war against drugs. You know, we have to look at the future of Nigerians, the youth of the future generation, and then we have to fight together. We must come together and then help the next generation so that, you know, silence, stigma, we are not losing them to it, as well as syringes.
And that's where parents come in. They need to understand their children and know how to speak with them. No two children are the same. Whether they are twins, they are not the same. And so how you speak with them matters a lot. You have to be in their lives and not just be a visitor. Because some children do not even know who their parents are. Really, and because their parents may just come in, okay, in the evening, yes, we know you're trying to get things for them and sure, but then when you are not there mentally, emotionally, physically, then there's going to be a problem. Nature abhors vacuum and something has to fill it.
Yes, that's true.
And so if they find solace in drugs, this is what happens. If they find solace in friends who encourage them to take these things, this is what happens. Because the friend is telling them something different that they have never heard, perhaps from their parents. Show love in a way your children understand.
And sometimes it's not friends. It could just be, there's something we call media violence, cultivation analysis, according to communication theorists.
Absolutely.
Things that we watch on TV, when we watch the American movies.
Us.
That's where some of the music, because you see the way they puff, a cigarette. Or did I just say cigarette? I don't just want to use marijuana.
All of that.
So people get to learn.
It's a combination of a lot of things.
Well.
We see the NDLEA doing a lot of campaigns, even working with the movie censors board and all of that. There's a lot of work they are doing, but we have to join hands with the NDLEA to ensure we stem the tide of this menace.